Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to the 42nd episode of Sub's Choice, the series where you decide what I fly out by leaving me your requested planes in the comments below. Today we are flying out the N1K2-J Shinden-Kai requested by Chatterjee and Fankin. They just beat the Seafire FR-47. It was very close, 44 against 41 upvotes in total. But the Shinden-Kai here won, and the N1K2s are always enjoyable planes to fly. Although I did have some trouble in this plane. I flew it out in the past. I was horrible in it back then, but it went okay this time. But you have quite a bit of up tiers into jets, and this plane isn't competitive with jets because of the speed of this plane. This plane doesn't in any way come close to jet speeds, even in a dive, and that is a bit of a problem. Even against props of 5.3, this plane faces problems in the speed department. The maximum speed in this plane at sea level without web is 515 kilometers an hour, and with web 542. At 4500 meters she'll go up to 458 kilometers an hour with web, and 481 without web. And finally at 6500 meters she can go up to 445 without web and 457 with web. Now that is not fantastic. It's not fantastic speed. It is a slow plane in a straight line, especially. Anything it faces is almost faster than this plane at this battle rating. So there is a problem there. It is not better in a dive. The top speed in a dive is 741 before she redlines and 830 before she rips apart. And that's not even the effective dive speed, as control stiffening flips in at 600 kilometers an hour and becomes quite severe at 700. So the compression is real there, and at 750 the elevator also starts to stiffen up. You have to get out of the dive at that point, and the roll rate isn't fantastic to begin with. So it is difficult to get guns on target in this plane in a dive against most opposition. The stall speed in the plane is 165, which is no more than average, and that makes it problematic, as I said, in jets, and you are facing a lot of jets these days with this plane, as 6.3 seems to be up tiered to 7.0 ish most of the time. Let's say 60 to 70% is jet matches these days, because the 8.0s are again going up to 9.0 it seems. So I don't know. It is difficult with all those jet matches in this plane, as he is quite slow. The firepower though is great. You have 4 20mm Type 99 Mark II cannons, which can be quite efficient. There's two pairs. The inner pair has 200 rounds per gun, and the outer pair has 250 rounds per gun. So the ammo load is really fantastic. When you get 200 or above ammunition on a 20mm, you can say that you have very nice firepower indeed. Now this plane can also be equipped with several different bomb loads and rocket options as well. So there is that. You can do a little bit of ground pounding in the plane, but I don't think you want to take that. You want to take the plane up to a decent altitude and start from there. She can energy fight quite nicely, and is quite the dogfighter as well at this level. The turn time is quite nice, especially with flaps, so there is that. So you really don't want to boom and zoom long runs with it. Short boom and zooms from altitude, transition into energy fighting, and dogfight when you want to. In that sense, you can be a little bit of a jack of all trades, although the boom and zooming part is definitely the most weak part in this plane. Now acceleration in a straight line is good, and in a dive it's very good. The energy retention in the horizontal is decent, and in the vertical is good. Climb rate is also quite good, so there is that. And as I said, it starts to shine in the turning department. It has a good turn time on her, and very good with flaps. Flaps only rip off at 550 kilometers an hour. So only in a dive do you have to be careful with the use of the flaps. The flaps can be deployed most of the time, as she doesn't exceed the flap rip-off speeds in a straight line anyway. So there is that. So once you're turning, use them to your heart's content and you'll be fine. And then the firepower can give you endings like this. If you get those 4 guns on target, she will rip a plane apart. Now the roll rate is average. It is nothing special. in this plane. It's a bit stiff on the roll rate, but it does make up for that in the turn time. Overall maneuverability I would call good. Overheating is definitely present, but it is also manageable. You do overheat especially the oil quite quickly. It goes to the amber and the red quite quick, but you can also cool her off quite fast. So there is that. So I would call that manageable. You just have to pay attention to it. Durability is very good. This plane is very durable and it can take a lot of damage. More than a hit or two. This plane can soak quite a bit of damage for a fighter. He's quite sturdy and that makes it very pleasant to fly, and it feels a little bit like a P-47 in that sense. The plane does become sluggish below 300 kilometers an hour, so at low speeds it doesn't handle nice, and you have to be aware of that. You gotta keep her in her sweet spot between plus 300 and the 500s, and that is the ideal range for this plane. Can take her maybe up to 600, but the turning and stuff like that goes the best between 300 and 500 kilometers an hour. Excellent plane when it comes to that, and you can surprise quite a few planes. So good armament in a plane that can energy fight and turn fight makes for a nice combination. Of course, the boom and zooming is possible if you have the energy advantage, if you are higher up than the plane you're facing. But against a P-47 at 7,000 meters, you do not really have the chance to to defeat that plane. So I decided to get the hell out of here pretty soon. There's a few other planes in the match still, so I'm going for those. There's a Key 84 there who's with me, but the P-47 will outperform us without much sweat. So I'm gonna roll off here. I'm gonna say goodbye to this P-47, and we're gonna go to some of the lower altitudes. This plane still performs decently at above 6,000, 7,000 kilometers. It doesn't have a drop off that's too high, so that's quite nice actually. Here we go for a B-17 who was quite low and slow, quite damaged I believe. We get that one out of the way, but I quite like flying in this plane. She can it gives you some nice steady handling, good firepower, and like I said, in the maneuvering department she is fantastic. Now this guy turns in too quickly. If you boom and zoom a target like that, you gotta have your exit route planned. And this guy was just turning, slowing himself down, giving me the opportunity to turn in. He had more energy. I should have looked really where I was turning and then turn the other way and then extend, make the gap a kilometer or more very quickly. If you have 420 millimeters behind you and you turn in like that, keeping the gap below 500 meters for a long time, then you've got a problem. Doing a bit of target practice on these landing craft. They seem to be they seemed to be quite sturdy, I have to say, these landing craft. I was quite I don't know, man. It seems to be hitting them, and I get a fire as well. I just went through their guns, I believe. It's very unfortunate. I'm gonna take my revenge on one of them, but sad ending to an otherwise perfectly fine match. Getting a few more hits in, always good for the score, but there we go. And as a consolatory prize, we get a landing craft in the end there. So this is a scoreboard from the first match. 4 kills in that match with a few nice rewards. We got Final Blow, the best squad, Terror of the Sky, and Bulletproof. 50,000 Silver Lions and 4,500 research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now this is a fantastic plane to fly, very enjoyable when it flies against other props. The speed of this plane is not much of a problem, and you definitely are competitive there because of the maneuverability of the plane, because of the energy fighting capabilities, and because of the good armament on the plane. She really is nice. But once you get up tiered, which happens quite a lot, in me in this case, I think it happened about 60-70% of the time, getting up tiered to 7.0 jets, and they are so much faster than you that you're gonna have problems, and it is not fun there. You don't get many kills. If you get a kill, that's often the only one of the match, and unless they go for head-ons and stuff like that. But even this thing has wing-mounted guns, so it's not the best in head-ons as well. It is sturdy though, so it can take a little bit of damage, but against jets, this plane is not recommended. So yeah, and with this battle rating, it is a problem. It might be a problem. Let me know how you feel about that, if it has the same limitations for you as it had for me. Don't forget, guys, to leave me your new requests in the comments below. The one who gets the most upvotes will be featured in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.